Waves crash gently against black volcanic cliffs as the first rays of sunlight touch an island surrounded by turquoise waters. Fishing boats drift toward the horizon. Temple bells begin to ring. The call to prayer echoes through nearby neighborhoods, and the smell of fresh dal puri fills the morning air. It looks like a place that has existed forever. But nothing about Mauritius is as ordinary as it seems. This is one of the very few countries on Earth where no one is truly native. Yet nearly everyone proudly calls it home. A nation where people from India, Africa, Europe and China built one of the continent's most peaceful and prosperous societies. Not because they shared the same language, religion or ancestry, but because they learned to share the same future. Today, Mauritius is known for its luxury resorts, white sand beaches, and crystal-clear lagoons. But behind this tropical paradise lies a story that most visitors never discover. How did an empty volcanic island become home to people from 4 different continents? Why has a country with no native population succeeded where many diverse societies continue to struggle? And as new challenges begin to test this remarkable nation, can Mauritius protect the identity that made it so extraordinary? To find those answers, we have to go back to a time when this island belonged to no one. Mauritius begins with an absence. Long before colourful temples, bustling markets, or endless fields of sugarcane covered this island, there were no villages, no kingdoms, and no indigenous people to call it home. For centuries, dense tropical forests, volcanic peaks, giant tortoises, and the now famous dodo bird were its only inhabitants. There were no cities to build, no borders to defend, and no history written by human hands. Nature ruled this isolated island, and humanity simply wasn't part of its story. Everything changed when European ships finally reached these distant shores. Unlike most lands they encountered, there was no civilization to conquer and no people to negotiate with. Mauritius was an empty island waiting for its first permanent settlers. Over time, people arrived from different parts of the world, not as one nation, but as slaves, indentured laborers, merchants, settlers, and dreamers searching for a new beginning. That extraordinary journey is still visible today. A Hindu temple stands beside a mosque. A church bell echoes through streets where Chinese lanterns hang above local shops. Indian traditions blend with African roots, French influence, and Creole culture in a way that feels both natural and unique. Mauritius was never united by blood or ancestry. It was united by people from different worlds who slowly chose to build one future together. But if Mauritius is officially an African nation, why does it look, sound, and feel so different from almost every other country on the continent? That answer begins with its remarkable place in the world. Step onto the streets of Mauritius and it's easy to forget you're standing in an African country. Cars drive on the left, following the British system. Government business is conducted in English. French fills the air in everyday conversations, and the aroma of Indian spices drifts through lively neighborhoods overlooking the Indian Ocean. It's a combination that feels unexpected, yet somehow completely natural. Few places on Earth bring together so many different cultures in such a small space. Descendants of Indians, Africans, Chinese, and Europeans have shaped a nation where diversity is part of everyday life, rather than an exception. That unique blend has helped Mauritius become one of Africa's strongest democracies, one of its highest income economies, and one of its most peaceful societies. All without the vast oil reserves or mineral wealth that many successful nations rely on. Walk through the busy streets of Port Louis and you'll pass modern office workers, street vendors, fishermen, students, and families from different backgrounds sharing the same public spaces. They may speak different languages, follow different religions, and celebrate different traditions, but they all call the same island home. Yet this remarkable harmony didn't happen by chance. To understand how Mauritius transformed from an empty island into one united nation, we have to go back to the very beginning of its extraordinary history. Unlike most nations, Mauritius was never founded by one people, one kingdom, or one civilization. Its story was shaped by strangers arriving from different corners of the world, each leaving behind a piece of the nation we see today. The Dutch were the first Europeans to settle here in the 17th century, leaving behind little except the tragic extinction of the dodo. Later, the French transformed the island into a prosperous sugar colony, relying on enslaved Africans to work the plantations. When the British took control in the early 1800s, the island entered another defining chapter. After slavery was abolished, thousands of indentured laborers arrived from India, carrying little more than hope, family traditions, and the dream of a better future. Many stepped onto the island with only a few belongings, never imagining that their descendants would one day help shape an entire nation. Chinese traders opened businesses, European families remained, and African heritage continued to influence the island's culture. Piece by piece, strangers became neighbors. Today, old sugar estates, colonial buildings, and the historic immigration depot stand as quiet reminders that Mauritius was never built overnight. It was shaped through hardship, sacrifice, resilience, and generations of people determined to create a better future. Their struggles didn't just build a country, they built its identity. And that identity is still visible today in the everyday lives of the people who call Mauritius home. Morning in Mauritius begins long before the beaches fill with tourists. As the first light reaches the island, fishermen guide their colorful boats into the calm Indian Ocean. School buses wind through green hills, and the aroma of freshly made dal puri, warm roti, and hot tea drifts from roadside stalls. For most Mauritians, life is not defined by luxury resorts or postcard-perfect beaches. It revolves around family, hard work, and a community where people still know their neighbors. In the capital, Port Louis, glass office buildings stand beside bustling street markets. Vendors switch effortlessly between Mauritian Creole, French, English, and sometimes Hindi or Bhojpuri, reflecting the island's remarkable cultural mix. Beyond the city, life slows down. Children play cricket after school, neighbors gather outside their homes as the sun begins to set, and weekends are often spent sharing meals with extended family or relaxing together on public beaches, where people from every background enjoy the same coastline. Perhaps the most remarkable part of everyday life isn't the scenery, it's the harmony. Different religions celebrate different festivals, yet many families happily join one another's celebrations, making diversity feel like an ordinary part of daily life rather than something unusual. But behind this peaceful routine lies another side of Mauritius, one that most tourists never experience and many travel brochures never mention. For millions of visitors, Mauritius is a destination of luxury resorts, turquoise lagoons, and postcard-perfect beaches. Many spend their entire holiday inside carefully designed coastal retreats, believing they've experienced the island. But the real Mauritius begins where most vacations end. Beyond the beachfront hotels, quiet villages wake to the sound of local markets, fishermen prepare their boats before sunrise, and generations of families continue traditions that existed long before modern tourism transformed the island. Old sugar estates still shape the countryside. Roadside stalls serve freshly made street food, and colourful temples, mosques, churches, and Chinese pagodas stand just minutes apart, reflecting the island's remarkable cultural harmony. Life here is not measured by five-star resorts, but by neighbourhood connections, family gatherings, and communities where people still greet one another by name. This is the Mauritius that rarely appears in travel brochures, a country whose greatest beauty isn't found only in its beaches, but in the everyday lives of the people who call it home. And perhaps that's why Mauritius feels so different. Its greatest strength isn't its scenery, it's the many cultures that have learned to live, celebrate, and grow together as one nation. In many parts of the world, cultural differences can divide communities. In Mauritius, they have become one of the country's greatest strengths. Walk through almost any town, and within a few minutes, you'll pass a Hindu temple, a mosque, a church, and a Chinese pagoda, each serving a different community, yet all sharing the same neighborhoods in remarkable harmony. Here, diversity isn't something people simply tolerate, it's woven into everyday life. That spirit comes alive during the island's festivals. The glow of Diwali lamps lights entire neighborhoods, even where many families are not Hindu. During Eid, homemade meals are shared with friends and neighbors. Christmas fills shopping streets with music and decorations, while the Chinese Spring Festival brings red lanterns and dragon dances to life. Although each celebration has its own traditions, the sense of community often extends far beyond a single religion. The same story is told through food. Indian curries, Creole seafood, Chinese noodles, and French-inspired pastries all share the same table, reflecting the remarkable journey of the people who built this nation. In Mauritius, different cultures haven't replaced one another. They've grown together, creating a shared identity that feels both diverse and united. But even the most successful societies face difficult challenges, and Mauritius is no exception. Mauritius is often celebrated as one of Africa's greatest success stories, but even the most beautiful places have challenges hidden beneath the surface. Behind the turquoise lagoons and luxury resorts, a new generation is facing questions that postcards never reveal. The first challenge is space. As a small island with limited land, Mauritius has little room to expand. Property prices continue to rise, making it increasingly difficult for many young families to buy a home. Roads have become busier, cities more crowded, and the pressure on housing continues to grow. Then there is the ocean, the very resource that helped transform Mauritius into a global tourist destination. Rising sea levels, stronger tropical cyclones, and damaged coral reefs now threaten its beaches, fisheries, and the tourism industry that supports thousands of livelihoods. Protecting the island is no longer just an environmental goal, it has become an economic necessity. At the same time, many highly educated young Mauritians choose to build their careers overseas, raising concerns about the country's future workforce. Mauritius has achieved remarkable success, but keeping that success may prove even more difficult than creating it. So the question is no longer how Mauritius became a success story, but whether it can remain one in a rapidly changing world. Mauritius has never relied on vast natural resources or a massive population to build its success. Instead, its greatest strength has always been its ability to adapt. When sugar could no longer sustain the economy on its own, the country diversified into textiles, tourism, financial services, and technology. Reinvention became more than an economic strategy. It became part of the Mauritian identity. Today, that same ability is being tested once again. Mauritius is investing in digital industries, renewable energy, smarter infrastructure, and a growing knowledge-based economy, while also trying to protect its fragile environment. Universities are preparing students for an increasingly competitive world, and new businesses are helping shape the island's future. At the same time, the challenge remains clear. Economic progress must improve the lives of ordinary families, not just strengthen businesses and attract investment. As the sun sets over the Indian Ocean, children still play along the same coastline where generations before them arrived in search of hope and opportunity. Their future will depend on whether Mauritius can continue to embrace change while protecting the values that made it different in the first place. And perhaps that is the greatest challenge of all. Not simply building a successful nation, but ensuring that future generations inherit the same unity, stability, and sense of belonging that transformed an empty island into one remarkable country. Mauritius proves that a nation is not measured by the age of its civilization, the size of its territory, or the wealth beneath its soil. It is measured by the future its people choose to build together. Perhaps that's why the world's most remarkable lesson comes from an island where no one was truly native. A place once untouched by human civilization became home to people from different continents, languages, religions, and cultures, who gradually transformed diversity into one shared identity. Today, as waves continue to wash against its volcanic shores, the story of Mauritius is still being written. Not by kings or conquerors, but by ordinary people opening their shops each morning, celebrating one another's festivals, raising families, and proving that unity is built through everyday choices, one generation at a time. Maybe that is the true meaning of Mauritius, a country where no one arrived first, yet everyone found a place to belong. And in a world often divided by differences, that may be its greatest lesson of all.